Sometimes as churches we start to think, well, that specialist over there, he's the evangelist. This person over here, he's the paid professional.
Yeah.
And it's this dynamic where a large portion of the church, in fact, maybe even to the degree of how many people have really began to do ministry, not just simply doing things in the church, which is important, of course, but every day of the week, being part of the ministry. That's where there's vitality and life that takes place.
Yeah. I think, you know, historically, you can trace to the point where the church began to pay professional priests. Okay, pay for the ministry to get done because they were the ones that had the inside track to God. Everybody else, they couldn't even read the Bible. We don't even care if the Bible is in their language because they can't read it anyway. It's holy. So we leave it, and that gets handed down so that we have a professional clergy. It's interesting that the Nicolaitans mentioned in the book of Revelation, that was the first group of people historically that ever made the distinction between the laity and the clergy, the Nicolaitans. And Jesus, I hate it. I hate it. It stops up everything I want to do. The picture is not a group of people hiring ministry to get done, and we pay them to do it. The picture is the church gathered. This is the staff of the church. Every church meeting, every Sunday morning, is a meeting of the church staff. And when we are done, we worship, we learn, we love one another, we experience the radical presence of Jesus that's present when we're all gathered in His name. Any believers that happen to come in, I defy them to make it through the morning without being accosted by a living Christ and responding to Him, you know, in some way. But this is the meeting of the church. This is where we learn about ministry. Then we cut loose, and the church staff is all over wherever we are all week long. We get together for another staff meeting, but we've messed it around. We get together, watch the staff perform, evaluate how well they're doing their work, and kick in some money so they can keep it up. And you know, it's all turned upside down, and that's not the way Jesus intended it.
Well, the benefit as people are ministering is that the body of Christ is built up, they're strengthened, and spiritual maturity takes place, not only in the church as a whole, but as individuals. But another wonderful benefit is unity. When people are ministering, there's unity. I remember one time hearing a phrase that says, when people who are called to fish don't fish, they fight. Yeah. And God's really called us to fish. Yeah. And when people are moving in ministry, there's unity that takes place.
There's another time fishermen fight, and that's when nobody's landing any fish. When they're either all missing them or there's no fish biting. The worst possible thing that can happen is for a bunch of fishermen to sit around and never catch any fish. And that's what happens in a lot of congregations because we've hired professional fishermen to go catch the fish. We just kind of chase them in so the pros can get them. I'm sorry, I love to fish. I'll do my own fishing, thank you. We were on a boat with Barbara one time out of Portland, on the coast, Iwako, and we went out and Barbara was with me, and she happened to tie into a shark. Turned out to be an 8-foot shark, blue shark. Massive thing. Well, you can imagine what that would do to a salmon line. He was headed for Hawaii, and she was hanging on to the end of this thing, just having the time of her life, trying to play this crazy fish in. And she finally got it coming her way. And one of the deckhands came over and took the rod out of her hand, landed that shark for her. She's still mad about that, and that was like 30 years ago. Well, that's what I'm talking about. You know, the thrill is in the catching, the doing, the seeing the life of Jesus accomplish something through you. That's infinitely more exciting than hearing the testimonies of everything that he's doing through the pastor.
You'll never ever catch a fish if you're closed. And that's why you got to be open for business all the time. Because that's when the fish are being caught, is when people are open for business.